Hello everyone, today we are going to explore an emotional and unexpected story in the life of Diep and James' family. Have you ever felt tired and worried without understanding why? And have you ever wondered if you might be pregnant again, even though you've just gone through childbirth? Let's follow Diep's journey as she faces unexpected health signs and thoughts about welcoming another member to the family. This story will take us through some tense moments when James takes Diep to the doctor and receives some news they didn't expect. Will they embrace a new joy? Let's find out. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to follow more interesting and emotional stories from us. Now, let's follow the story. On a peaceful morning, as soft light streamed through the window, Diep woke up feeling an unusual tiredness in her body. Instead of the usual sense of alertness, today she felt incredibly fatigued. Dizziness suddenly hit her, causing her to close her eyes and try to steady herself on the bed. A wave of nausea and discomfort washed over her, making it even harder to stay calm. She tried to sit up, but everything seemed to spin before her eyes. Her hand instinctively placed on her stomach, sensing an emptiness, as if something was changing within her. Could I be pregnant again? The thought popped into Diep's mind out of nowhere, refusing to go away. She had cherished the joyful months of carrying little Jack, and those memories were still vivid in her mind. She recalled every happy moment as she welcomed the news of her first pregnancy. But now, as the fatigue set in, she couldn't help but feel concerned. Was she pregnant again? Was her body ready for another challenge, or was this just a sign of the exhaustion that had built up from caring for a baby? With these swirling thoughts, Diep found it difficult to focus on anything. She struggled to get out of bed, but each step seemed heavy, and she had to stop for a moment to catch her breath. The discomfort wouldn't let go of her, making each movement feel burdensome. She sat down on the chair, staring blankly into the distance, feeling her heart fill with doubt and anxiety. Despite trying not to admit it, there was an unsettling feeling growing inside her. In the past, she always felt confident about her health, but today everything seemed different. She turned to look at James, who was still peacefully asleep beside her. He looked so calm, his face serene as always. Diep smiled faintly, but the worry in her heart wouldn't go away. Would he be happy to know we're expecting another member of the family? She wondered to herself. A mix of excitement and fear welled up inside her. Would having another baby right now be the right decision? She felt a void inside her, a mixture of anticipation for the future, but also an unease she couldn't explain. Diep sighed softly and turned her gaze back to James, who slept soundly while she wrestled with her conflicting emotions. Although she couldn't fully explain the sensation, Diep couldn't stop thinking about the future. She did want to add another member to their family, but she couldn't ignore the worries about the challenges that might come with it. At that moment, everything seemed unclear, only the rising fatigue and unanswerable questions remained. Diep just hoped things would become clearer soon, so she could face whatever was to come with more strength and confidence. When the fatigue showed no signs of easing, Diep felt she could not endure it any longer. She tried to get up, but her body didn't obey. A heavy sense of exhaustion overwhelmed her. Seeing his wife like this, James immediately recognized that something was wrong. Although he didn't want to worry, he couldn't hide the concern in his eyes. He placed his hand on her shoulder and gently asked, "You're not okay, are you?" James's question made Diep feel a lump in her throat. She nodded, unable to say anything more. He didn't need to ask again because, just by looking into her anxious eyes, he knew how she was feeling. Without hesitation, James quickly took Diep to the hospital, even though the sky was still dark. They sat in silence in the car, not speaking a word, but the heavy atmosphere made every passing minute feel longer than ever. Diep's thoughts were consumed by the symptoms she was facing, and a part of her still hoped it was just temporary exhaustion. However, the uneasy feeling lingered, making her even more anxious. When they arrived at the hospital, Diep felt like she was stepping into a cold, unfamiliar place. She followed James into the waiting room, immediately sensing the tension that enveloped her. Though she tried to stay calm, she couldn't hide the worry on her face. She sat silently, her hands clenched on her lap, trying not to let her eyes show the anxiety she felt. The moments waiting in the clinic seemed to drag on, and time seemed to stop as they sat there, hearts full of worry and uncertainty. James sat beside her, holding her hand tightly, but not saying anything. The hand-holding wasn't just an act of affection, but also a silent comfort, a promise that he would always be there for her, no matter what the outcome was. He didn't take his eyes off her, and each time she shifted slightly or looked away, he grew more concerned. Though he tried to appear strong on the outside, James knew the fear and anxiety were clearly visible in his wife's mind. He felt the tension in the air, and each minute of waiting made their emotions heavier. When the doctor called their names to enter the examination room, they both stood up, their hearts racing. Although James tried to keep calm, the worry was evident in his eyes. Together, they entered the exam room, where all their questions would be answered, no matter what the answer was. Each step forward felt like getting closer to the truth, and inside Diep, conflicting thoughts raced through her mind, making it hard for her to let go. She just hoped everything would be fine, that she wouldn't have to face a major challenge right at this moment. After the doctor left to check the results, the atmosphere in the waiting room seemed heavier than ever. Both James and Diep sat in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Diep tried to shake off the worries in her mind, but she couldn't stop thinking about what she was facing. Was she healthy? Could the fatigue she was feeling be a sign of something more serious? These questions kept swirling in her head, making it hard for her to find any peace. When the doctor entered with a smile on his face, Diep felt a bit of relief. But at the same time, a sense of disappointment flooded her, realizing that what she had been hoping for wasn't the truth. The doctor smiled and said, "Ms. Diep, all the results are normal. The symptoms you are experiencing are just signs of postpartum fatigue. Your body is still in the process of recovering from giving birth to baby Jack. Taking care of a small baby can make you feel exhausted, but this is completely normal, and it will pass when you get enough rest." Diep exhaled with relief, but she couldn't hide the slight disappointment inside her. She had been hoping for the news that she was pregnant again, but it turned out to be just the natural fatigue after childbirth. The feeling of disappointment lingered for a moment, but she quickly realized that what mattered most was her health being fine. James looked at his wife with warm and loving eyes. He gently took her hand and said in a calm, comforting voice, "As long as you're healthy, that's enough." His words soothed Diep's heart, and the worry and tension in her faded away. The two of them shared a quiet moment, looking at each other, a bond that didn't need words but was full of love. Even though there wasn't a second baby right now, Diep knew that their family was already complete. Baby Jack was healthy, James was by her side, and most importantly, her health was confirmed to be fine by the doctor. Life doesn't always go as planned, but as long as they have each other, overcoming any challenge would be easier. In those moments, when she looked into James's loving eyes, Diep felt comforted and hopeful about the future. While a part of her felt disappointed that they wouldn't be welcoming another family member, the sense of relief from knowing she was still healthy was the most important thing. They both smiled at each other, understanding that although life may have its surprises and challenges, love and family would always be the strength to face everything together.
Chào các bạn, hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau khám phá một câu chuyện đầy cảm xúc và bất ngờ trong cuộc sống của gia đình Diep và James. Các bạn có bao giờ cảm thấy mệt mỏi và lo lắng mà không hiểu lý do? Và liệu có bao giờ các bạn có thể mang thai một lần nữa dù mới trải qua thời gian sinh nở? Cùng theo dõi câu chuyện của Diep khi cô ấy phải đối mặt với những dấu hiệu bất ngờ về sức khỏe và những suy nghĩ về một thành viên trong gia đình mới. Câu chuyện này sẽ đưa chúng ta đến với những giây phút căng thẳng khi James và Diep đi khám và nhận được thông báo họ không ngờ tới. Liệu họ có đón nhận niềm vui mới không? Cùng tìm hiểu nhé! Đừng quên nhấn đăng ký và theo dõi thêm những câu chuyện đầy thú vị và cảm xúc của chúng tôi.